We've started to see a lot of yellowing in soybean fields, and everyone's asking what's going on. We're at a point in time in mid to late August that normal senescence starts to happen, so the normal yellowing and leaf drop of soybeans as they progress and mature. But if we come out into the field and investigate, we actually start to see some leaves and petioles and stems dying and some root rot and some funky stuff going on with the leaves. So if we zoom in really close, you can see what we call intervenal yellowing. So with sudden death syndrome, the leaf symptoms, the veins on the leaf stay dark green. The space in between the veins, the intervenal space, actually starts to turn yellow and then dies. As it keeps progressing, the leaves will turn brown all the way except for the veins and will fall off, but the petiole that the leaf is attached to will stay on the plant. So it'll almost look like a skeleton, kind of. All the leaves will be gone, but the petioles will be still attached to the stem. So how sudden death affects a soybean plant, we are seeing the symptoms now in late reproductive stages, but it actually infected the plant very early on. We're just now seeing symptoms of it. Sudden death syndrome will infect the plant as a seedling when it's cool and wet. Typically, that seedling growth has been slowed down and it's just kind of sitting there stagnant, not growing when it's cool and wet. And the disease will infect, the fungus will infect it early on through the roots. As the season goes on, that disease, that fungus will produce a toxin on the roots in the plant, and as we start to get a lot of late season rains, those rains that the plant is taking up will flush that toxin into the plant and move it further up into the canopy. That's why we will start to see all of these leaves dying and the yellow and the brown discoloration in between the veins later in the season. If it progresses far enough, not only will you see these leaf symptoms, but you will start to see the stem of the soybean die as well. And if we look at the roots with a very, very progressed form of sudden death syndrome, you will actually start to see the blue fungus on the roots colonized as well. Another good thing to do, we always split the stem of the root as well. I can't do that in the middle of the field right now, but if we would split this open, a healthy soybean plant will have a white pith on the inside of this stem. With sudden death syndrome, there's going to be a lot of gray discoloration, and you'll be able to see where it's actually killed this portion of the stem. So it infects early on. The toxins that enter the plant through the root, the fungus will colonize here. The fungus will work its way up the plant. As the season goes on, we'll start to see the leaf symptoms, then we'll see the stem and the plant die, and then we'll also be able to see that fungus on the base of the plant, on the crown root. Depending on when it infected the plant, how progressed the symptoms are will decide what kind of yield loss we are seeing. Sudden death syndrome is typically one of the most yield robbing diseases in a soybean crop.